Hello everyone, welcome to Donkey Kong Country 3. Hello everyone, welcome to Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. My name is Anankoz and I will be speedrunning the No Major Skips category today. Thanks to your generous donations. During the run I will not talk a lot, but I have a wonderful team of commentators who will walk you through the speedrun. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, what's up everybody? This is Silent Wolf, and I'll be co-commentating alongside Void.
Yo, rolling
in. Okay, I'm pretty much... Oh, the game just restarted. Let me do that again. And then, once I type in the file name, we can get underway. SGDQ. Okay. Okay, so then we are ready to go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck. Alright, so welcome to DKC3 No Major Skips. Starting the run right off the bat with not a major skip, wrinkly skip. Pretty simple. All you have to do is hold B and left, and it's gonna skip the game, automatically queuing you in for a save. But yeah, so what essentially No Major Skips is you're not allowed to, obviously, skip major portions of this game and some major tricks that otherwise would normally be done in the any % run. This includes the warp barrels for the first 2 worlds. There's a warp barrel in each level of the first 2 worlds, but also a couple other things that we'll point out later throughout the run. But yeah, as you can see, the first 2 worlds will be a lot more movement oriented than they are in any %.
Yeah, this category is kind of a combination of any % and the warpless category, since in the warpless category you do actually play through the first couple worlds, which you don't in any %. Aside from one of the stages which you actually skip in warpless, so this is one of the only categories where you actually get to showcase that stage. But yeah, we'll talk more about that once we get there.
Yeah. This level is actually surprisingly difficult to optimize. So the gimmick, obviously, you have to hold on to these handles to open those doors and make your way through them. You don't want to waste too much time holding on to those handles, though. So optimally, you really cut it close on some of the doors. And this is the cause of many resets for this category.
Yeah, it can be pretty risky, because if you don't hang on one of those handles just long enough and you try and shoot or jump through one of those doorways, you'll be blocked from it and you'll have to go all the way back and re-pull the handle. So it's tough to strike a balance between staying optimal and saving as much time as possible, but not overdoing it and needing to reset your run, which obviously is not a possibility right now.
Yeah, that would be difficult. Alright, so Tidal Trouble. I'm gonna make use of Dixie's fluttering ability to not touch the water. The water goes from right to left, so it's gonna push you backward. So the longer you are in the water, the slower it is, really. And actually full rolls on these small platforms. It's very convenient. Just chain glides together. At the end, coming up, there's gonna be a squeeze. Oh, I guess not. I understand playing it safe right there. Losing a Kong right there can be really tricky for the upcoming level, because this is one of the harder levels in the early game. You got ice physics, and you're gonna combine those ice physics with okay. We're still fine. DK barrel was right there. But yeah, like I was saying, you combine those ice physics with the fact that Dixie is actually like not as good as you would think she is for vertical platforming.
Yeah, surprisingly, Kitty takes the cake when it comes to vertical platforming, which we'll see a lot of in World 2.
Yeah, but like Anankoz landing on those houses and chaining those rolls is a lot more difficult than it appears. Because Dixie's animation for landing takes quite a bit of time.
Yeah, it looks like Anankoz is finding a little workaround for that. So if you time a glide right before you land, you'll actually get a buffered roll and not have to deal with the wonkiness of Dixie landing and possibly not having her roll come out. So it looks like he made good use of that in that stage.
And now we're coming up on another No Major Skips exclusive, Murky Mill. So in Warpless, you would do this level without the Warp Barrel, but you would be allowed to skip Ellie. This category doesn't allow that, so we're gonna have to do some intended strats, or maybe not so intended, as you can see with that rat bounce that Anankoz just did. If you cut the corner well enough, you can skip using a barrel to dispatch the rat. If Ellie spots a rat under a light, she will get scared. And that's essentially the entire gimmick of this level.
Yeah, if you happen to, let's say, jump into the light and Ellie gets scared and falls on the rat, normally if you jump on a rat, you'd be able to just bounce on it, no problem. But if you're in that scared state, then you're actually going to take damage. And since you play the majority of this level with one Kong, or one Ellie in this case, I suppose, it can be pretty risky to cut some of those lights and try and take them as optimally as possible.
Alright, so first boss, Belcha. The best variation of this fight does it in 2 hits. Very nicely done by Anankoz. This strat is not easy at all. Saves very minimal time.
Yeah, that's extremely tight.
Yeah. And
yeah, thankfully you're not really at risk of losing a Kong or anything going for that strat, but you can very easily lose a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
Alright, so this is probably one of the harder stages in the early game. A lot of rope climbing, a lot of difficult platforming, and this is where you really get to see Kitty shine on that vertical movement, as we were mentioning earlier.
And at the same time, his hitbox really coming forward as being not the best when it comes to dodging those acorns.
One thing to point out is you're going to see Anankoz doing a lot of these rope jumps. Sometimes he'll jump as soon as he lands on a rope just to get a little bit of speed, but at other times he'll do a jump on the rope to kind of manipulate the camera and manipulate the spawns of the coconuts that these other monkeys are throwing at you. And it can allow you to save some cycles in some areas.
Like right there, that rope jump was to manipulate the camera so that you can have a little bit of cleaner movement at the end. And that was a very nicely done level.
Yeah.
Alright, Riverside Race. So, the particularity of this level is that you have to speedrun it, even in a normal playthrough. So, we're gonna just do that. And the cool thing about this level is this timer that you see on the bottom right. A really good time in this level would be either a 53 or a 54. So Anankoz is going to be shooting for that. Going to be grabbing this invincibility barrel, making our way... Oh, or not. I was gonna say, you can make your way up there, and this is the area where the second bonus would be, and it's a little faster to get on top because your movement on land is faster than in the water, but not a big deal.
Yeah, so although Anankoz is moving a bit too fast for us to notice it, one of the gimmicks of this level is there's actually like a cloud of bugs that chases you and tries to get you to go fast in that stage, but Anankoz was going just a little too fast for us to see it very often. Okay, so coming up on Squeals on Wheels, I think this is the only category where we get to see this stage in its entirety.
Yeah, correct.
And the gimmick in this stage is you're gonna need to kill these rats to lower the meter that you see next to those rat wheels. And once you lower that meter completely for that respective section, it will open the door. So you need to kill all of these rats in the wheels to make it past the section.
Yeah, so this level, you essentially go from the bottom to the top of the level, and then the level sends you back to the beginning where a door will be open that is not open when you start the level. And in other categories, you can just clip that door, but it is considered a major skip. It's allowed in warpless because it's not a warp, but it is a skip that is saves a pretty significant amount of time. I mean, just completely skip doing this entire level.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the motivations for creating this category is, despite the warpless category existing, there are quite a few major skips throughout the game that are still featured, so there's still like decent chunk of the game that you're missing out on, even in the warpless category.
That was nicely done. This is one of my favorite levels that is an addition to this category.
Yeah, it's a beautiful stage when executed properly.
Alright, so another level where Kitty's vertical platforming is gonna shine, and there's a lot of it. And not only that, but if Anankoz's movement is tight enough, he's gonna be able to make some crucial spider cycles.
Yeah, when you watch this stage being played, it's just seemingly endless, difficult platforming.
Doing really well so far.
Yeah, it can be really easy to bleed quite a bit of time if you're not jumping off of these spiders soon enough, because it really adds up throughout the course of the stage.
Team throw right there to skip that B cycle, or rather get ahead of it. And he's in the clear. Very nicely done.
Yep, very nice.
Alright, so another Ellie level. 2-5. Once again, in warpless you would be able to skip Ellie right there and save a good chunk of time, but because this category has no major skips, we're going to be using Ellie the elephant as intended. Although you can skip a lot more than you'd think in this level. As you can see with that bee, you can just duck under the water. This one you can just kill. Here you can do a D-boost instead of grabbing the TNT barrel to clear the bees.
Yeah, a lot of pretty standard tech. Ellie herself doesn't have anything too complicated, unfortunately.
Yeah. She has this water gun ability that we use a couple times in this level, because an interesting property with Ellie is you can shoot that water, and when she's mid-air, you're not going to lose momentum from that. So Anankoz is going to use that to cut some corners a little more cleanly, like this one right here. Final D-boost here, and we're in the clear. That D-boost is not only faster, but it fixes the Kong order for the boss fight coming up, Eric. You want to have Kitty in front, because not only can you only team throw properly with Kitty, but Kitty's throwing animation is much faster than Dixie's. And this is a really difficult fight. Thankfully, Anankoz beautifully navigating it.
Very nice. Yeah, in a marathon run, that fight's always really scary. It's a big reset point in runs typically.
Yeah.
All right, so we're done with World 2. Logically, we are coming up on World 3 next. Wouldn't you agree, Void?
Yep.
So there's actually a pretty big debate in the community on what is World 3 and what is World 4. Because at this point in the run, you have available to you 2 worlds, and you can choose to play either one first. Cotton Top Cove and Mechanos. Mechanos being where we're heading now. And, you know, despite what some people say, Mechanos is the harder world. Maybe some people think it's World 4, but they would be incorrect.
I agree with that sentiment.
All right, seems we're all in agreement here.
Yep. Uncontested agreement. But yeah, in any case, like Silent Wolf said, this level really ramps up the difficulty in the any percent run. Like, this is a big reset point. In no major skips, because you're already used to the first 2 worlds being much more difficult than in any percent. The transition is a little smoother, but this is still like a really tough level. Like, this vertical climb, for example, can be pretty tricky, especially done on this version of the game. And this trick coming up, this jump over the B, very nicely done. Took a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's very tough to execute with Kiddy Kong.
But yeah, like Silent Wolf was saying earlier, Mechanos is done first in the speedrun because of Kong management for the most part. It's a little faster Kong management-wise to do this world first, and
it's also just a harder world in general, so it's nice to knock it out earlier in the run.
Yeah, it is nice to clear it first. The problem, of course, with doing Mechanos first is that after this level, you have to do back-to-back auto-scrollers, which is an excellent time for donations, really. There's a few things to talk about in this level, namely dismounting those ramps and also jumping into the pits that you'll see later, which is gonna maximize the speed of the bobsled. But yeah, other than that, this is perfect donation time.
Sounds good. We got them coming in. We got a $445 donation from Mott, who says, so nice to finally be able to hear some more of the really amazing Double Trouble soundtrack. Thanks to spending more than just a couple of seconds in the first levels. Giving the blindfolded Mario incentive a push, because we haven't had enough crazy display of blind skills here yet, right? Just to update you on that one, that's coming up a little later in the day. We are currently at $11,000 out of the $40,000 needed to get a blindfolded LBLJ showcase for SM64. Got time for more?
Yeah.
Cool. We got $50 from Turkey Pedal. First time I've had money to donate, so I had to donate for DKC3. I spent way too much time on this game in my childhood. Love that you used the palette swap. And is it weird that I actually kind of like Kitty? Money goes to the blindfolded Mario 64 LBJ showcase. $25 from Laugh Track. Hey, Anankoz. Started learning DKC3 80% a little over a month ago, and I wanted to say thank you for the videos you've recorded for DKC speedruns. I've been practicing World 6 and 7 this past week, and your videos have been helping me learn. It's great to see you playing at this event. Thank you for Games Done Quick, for everything that you do, and best of luck to all the runners.
Thanks for plugging in the website, dkcspeedruns.com, if you guys are interested in learning the DKC speedruns. Any of them, really. That website has a ton of information regarding the first, not the first, I should say, the 3 SNES DKC runs, and it is managed by the community. It is an amazing resource to start the game with.
Yeah, I would have to agree. So this is actually a pretty long auto-scroller, so if you have any more donations, you can keep them coming.
Yeah, there's really no tech in this level, aside from saving the animals.
Sure thing. We love saving the animals here. And shouting out dkcspeedruns.com. dkcspeedruns.com. We got a $250 donation from Mikarugi. Hello, SUDQ. Been watching on and off all week, and some runs have been a joy to watch. Here's some extra cash to get that Demon Souls run tonight. Thank you so much, Mikarugi. $500 from Swedish Way. More Souls games? More money for a good cause? Yes, please. $20 from Sir Dan 1987. This has been an amazing week to enjoy, but all good things must come to an end, it seems. Let us reflect on how many lives we'll be helping out in the end. Congrats to all the runners and for those who helped contribute for the cause. But we're not done yet, Sir Dan. We got a lot of games left to go before the end.
All right, so now we're coming up on Blazing Bazookas. Something worth noticing, in the last level, Anankoz skipped a crucial DK barrel to make sure that he would enter this level with only Dixie. It's actually faster to enter barrels with only one Kong, because the barrel will only either fire you out of it or move in its position to fire out if both Kongs are entered in it. And if you have two Kongs, it has a delay where you have to wait for the second Kong to enter the barrel.
Yeah,
and
if I recall, that actually ruins a couple cycles in this stage too.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, it adds up over the course of this level, because you enter quite a few barrels.
Yeah, I'd say this is where the run starts getting pretty terrifying, because you play the next couple stages solo Kong, and it's very easy to take damage in either one of these stages.
Mm-hmm. And the halfway points are pretty much out of the way, so yeah, a death would be really bad. Fortunately, Anankoz is a gamer, and I completely believe in him. So this is a cool level, Logi Labyrinth. The gimmick is the low gravity, which slows you down, but also makes you jump much higher. While the gimmick in itself is interesting, making a mistake because of said gimmick in this level is a lot more damaging to your speedrun than it would actually be.
Yeah, since the level is so slow-paced, if you have to replay it again, it can cost you a ton of time.
Anankoz is going to be doing some tight walks maneuvering. You can see you can exploit those bees hitboxes and just not take damage in spots where you think you have to take damage.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to line those up as quickly as he did, so very nicely done.
Mm-hmm. And once again, at the end of the level, we're going to be doing a damage boost to fix our Kong order. For the upcoming boss fight, once again, we'll be doing a strat called the One Cycle Chaos, which involves a ton of team throwing in midair to preserve your height, and also manipulate the hits that we do on Chaos to essentially position ourselves so that we bounce off of him in the correct position.
Yeah, despite how it looks, this is actually a very precise fight. If you end up positioning yourself incorrectly, you're going to bounce off of him and not be able to get a subsequent team throw just like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. As you can see, Anankoz was a little too low right there, so he wasn't able to catch Dixie back on his way down. But 2 cycle is still perfectly fine.
Looks like he goes for an intentional damage boost there just to fix his Kong order.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so we're done with World 3. Yeah, Cotton Top Cove coming up, a little easier than Mechanos. most people would say. This level, though, can be pretty tricky. Boz's blockade. So the idea is, like most water levels in the DKC trilogy, you want to cut corners to preserve as much momentum as you possibly can. And the corners in this game, compared to the corners in the other games in the trilogy, they're not like they're hard to tell because of that coral. So
it takes a lot of practice. Like, despite how the edges look based on the coral, every corner has a different hitbox that you really just need to spend time familiarizing yourself with. So it takes a lot of time and setting up the proper visual cues to get a stage like this down properly, like Anankoz has.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, definitely very satisfying when seen done correctly, though.
A little bit of camera manip at the end there to delay those boss spawns.
Yeah, I usually think of World 4 as kind of like a break in the run. It's not easy by any means, but I definitely think it's one of the easier worlds.
Mm-hmm. This level in particular, I've always considered the easiest level in the run.
Yeah, definitely not a whole lot going on. There's a couple tricky things, and it can be tricky if you're trying to really optimize it, but it's not too bad.
Couple D boosts here and there to skip some barrel and B cycles.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see a whole lot of no major skips exclusive action in World 4. I think there might be one skip in this stage that we avoid, but other than that, I don't think there's actually anything that's different from World 4 in this category than in any percent.
Yeah, that's correct. There's only one damage boost that we do later to replace a team throw. This one right here. So once again, this D-boost serves two purposes. One, it's faster than just dodging that B completely, and two, it sets up for the next level. The next level is extremely laggy if you have both Kongs.
Yeah.
So you really want to have only one Kong, and Dixie is preferred. Because Dixie on horizontal ropes is pretty juicy.
Yeah, this is probably the spookiest stage in World 4, actually. If you try and jump too early before landing on a rope or anything along those lines, you could very easily take damage on one of these clasps, which are the TNT alligator things that are crawling around the ropes here. Gonna do a little camera manip here just to make sure he can bait the fish down there. If you do that improperly, the fish will actually be there waiting for you when you do that final roll into the water. So it's very important to set that up properly.
Mm-hmm. That was very nicely done.
Yeah.
So we got Tracker Barrel Trek here. As you can see, the gimmick is those horizontally moving barrels, essentially tracking your position. Ooh. Okay, that's an unfortunate mistake. Thankfully, Anankoz didn't take a death from that. It's very easy to get bopped by that crumple once you land back to this spot.
Yeah, I respect going for it, though. Definitely a hard tech to pull off, especially in a marathon run.
Yeah, so the safe strat would be to do this section in 3 shots, but you can do it in 2 shots and it saves a little time. But of course, the risk is always to not being able to make it to that platform. You guys saw both outcomes right there. Something really interesting here. So this B Okay, Anankoz looks like he actually like didn't try too hard to skip the B, but it's actually really, really difficult to skip that B, so I don't blame him at all for that. It's actually a very interesting difference between the Japanese version of this game and the English version. That B moves from up to down much faster than in the Japanese version, making it harder to dodge. And there are a couple more differences between the U and the J versions. We'll talk about some of them later. But this is one of the notable ones that makes this run maybe a little harder than it should be on the Japanese version. But it is very worth it to play on this version, in my opinion.
Yeah, and now it looks like we're in Fish Food Frenzy. So the gimmick of this stage is you have this fish following you, and as time progresses, he's going to turn into a different color, and if you let him turn red, he's going to take a bite out of your Kong and kill you. So what you need to do is make sure to feed him the appropriate fish and make sure that he doesn't eat these lurchins, because that will the fish will replenish his color towards him not biting you, and eating the lurchins will turn him towards the red color. And it's not everyone's favorite speedrun stage, because despite people's constant efforts to route this stage, there's always times where the fish misbehaves and goes off on his own, and it can be pretty scary when he's not eating the fish that you want him to.
Yeah, the fish goes on an adventure. And sometimes you'll just pop back in and you'll be hangry. And
Yeah.
you'll be kind of screwed. Thankfully, Anankoz did this level really well.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Something worth noting, Anankoz grabs a second Kong right there. Optimally, you would skip the Kong barrels in this level to set up for a solo Kong 5-1, but 5-1 is extremely scary, especially in marathon runs, so once again, a little bit of a safer strat right there.
Alright, and now it looks like we're fighting against Jar Jar. I mean, what is this guy's name again?
Squirt.
Squirt. Everybody's favorite boss from their childhood.
Yep.
Definitely did not induce any nightmares whatsoever.
Everyone knows what Squirt is, after all.
Clearly, he's a, what does the game call him? A wall slug or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, one of the easier bosses in the run, thankfully. Just need to wait for him to open his eyes, squirt some water in there, and we're out of here. And this is where the game's difficulty definitely ramps up once more, starting with 5-1. 5-1 is, I'd say, one of the hardest stages in the game.
Yeah. It's a terrifying level in runs. When you're doing PB attempts. Like I mentioned earlier, it is faster to do it with one Kong because of the barrel properties that I talked about earlier. If you only have one Kong, it's going to take less time to enter barrels. This level has a few barrels. But somehow, correct me if I'm wrong, but only having one Kong makes the chances of dying in this level exponentially higher.
Yeah, it's definitely a mental thing. You're just a lot more terrified of taking damage when you're down to the wire with one Kong. But yeah, as you'll see, he's going to be cutting it really close with a lot of these clasps as he's trying to climb these ropes. And if you, get a bit antsy, do an input too early, your input's going to get eaten and you're going to take damage from one of these guys for sure.
Yeah. And I mentioned earlier how good Dixie is with horizontal ropes. As you can see, she's climbing them really quickly. Definitely an upside over Kitty in this stage. E-boost right here once again to fix the Kong order. And we're out.
All right, we're coming up on another toboggan auto-scroller, so if we have more donations, we can go ahead and hear those.
Yep.
Definitely. We've got quite a few coming in. We've got $25 from Hausen. Sup, Anankoz. Good luck on the run. Also, don't listen to known conspiracy theorists, Void and Silent Wolf, on commentary. Mechanos is, in fact, World 4.
Thanks, Hazel. I'm sorry you're wrong, though, but thank you for donating.
$25 from Geg. The DKC trilogy is the best. This was the first game I ever took to 100% for that sweet, sweet gyrocopter. Good luck on the run, and enjoy the best SNES soundtrack of all time. Wow, that's bold. Chat, do you agree? What's the best SNES soundtrack of all time?
Donkey Kong Country 2.
Ooh, good choice. I like it. Yeah, I would agree, for sure. $25 from Rodin. Loving this DKC3 run. One of my favorite games as a kid. Shout out to the marble with the screaming monkey inside. $100 from MadMark22. So glad to see objectively the best game in the DKC trilogy. Good luck on the run, Anankoz, and shout outs to the commentators for the great commentary so far. P.S. Mechanos is still World 3. Donation goes to Runner's Choice.
Thank you for that, Madmark.
Thank you, man, Mark.
Heated debate about whether Mechanos is World 3 or 4. Heated.
All right, so barrel drop bounce. We're skipping a few team throws that would be considered major skips in this category in favor of doing the level in quote-unquote the intended way. Some team throws would save a ton of time, and especially one that is about to skip the portion of the level that Anankoz is going to be on. Right here. This is all DLC content.
Yeah, and when I talked to Anankoz about this section and how he felt about it, he mentioned that the movement here feels really awkward.
Yeah, it's like if you go too fast, you're gonna like mess up your movement for some barrel cycles and whatnot. It's peculiar. Alright, so Crackshot Croc. This is your discount webwoods, if you're familiar with Donkey Kong Country 2. You've got these pools of, let's call it strawberry milkshake. Unfortunately, Squitter is allergic to strawberries, so you don't want to touch those pools. Thankfully, there is a part in between each pool that you can land on without taking damage, and we're going to make use of that throughout this level. Ooh, that's an unfortunate death. That's okay, though. I think Anankoz is gonna have to maybe change the fact that is change his damage boosting a little bit towards the end to make sure his Kong order is still good for the next level.
Yeah, I think so as well. Oh, Anankoz going for the fast webs, but they're really tricky and sometimes they don't always work. So typically
I assume that's why he took the death earlier. It saves a little bit of time to go for fast webs, but not a whole lot of people in the community understand how they work. So
yeah. So typically when you lay a web, there's a window where you need to wait before you can lay another web, but depending on if your movement is set up appropriately in certain sections, you can actually instantly make another web platform. And it looks like he did nail that in a couple of spots, which is pretty awesome.
All right, so Lemguin Lunge, which is my personal favorite level in this run. Once again, this level is really laggy if you have both Kongs, so that's why you only want to play this level as Dixie. And another thing worth noting is that those Lemguins have really stupid hitboxes. You can... roll through them and hit them as long as they're mid-air and they're not gonna damage you. But anytime they're on the ground, you really have to be careful, especially for descending. All right, that was nicely done.
Yeah, very nice. Now, one of the most important things about this run compared to any percent is this boss fight coming up, Bleak. Typically in the any percent category, we play on the Japanese version, and we do what's called Bleak skip, where if you pause on the exact same frame that the fade out begins, you can actually skip this boss in its entirety and save almost an entire minute. But we do consider that a major skip, so in this category we fight Bleak the old-fashioned way, which is nice. It's really nice to not need to rely on a frame-perfect trick based on an audio cue rather than a visual cue when you're this far into your speedrun. So that's one of the perks of this category.
Yeah, and it's the biggest reason to play this category on the English version, like I mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, Bleak has some RNG to hit. Especially during this last phase, he moves pretty quickly, and his hitbox is kind of whack, so it can take some time before hitting him.
Yeah, there's even a spot he can spawn where he's just completely unhittable as well.
Yeah, he spawns on the bottom left corner.
Nice. I believe Anankoz took it a little risky on that quick hit there just to have Kitty in front for the next stage. So Buzzer Barrage, this is in my opinion one of the coolest stages in the game.
Yeah, this level is awesome.
Very difficult to optimize, but very beautiful when performed correctly. A lot of tricky skips in this stage. You want to try and squeeze past these copters as tightly as you can, but some of these are really tight. And if you do take damage, it can spell trouble later on in this stage as well, because there's a lot of intentional damage boosts you want to do as well. So you're pretty much playing with your life on the edge throughout this whole stage.
Mm-hmm. Right here, you would think that it would be faster to deboost, but we're actually gonna save this deboost for a little later, where it's gonna save more time. Gonna have to do this copter squeeze right here. All right. Now we're doing this deboost. You can skip this copter and this U-shaped passage.
Yeah, and it's very tough to execute. If you bonk any of the walls on your way down that descent, you pretty much won't make it past that last copter.
All right.
Bear in.
So this is the only brother bear that you see in the run, Benny. The brother bears, they're a bigger part of the 103% speed run, but yeah, not a whole lot to talk about regarding them for this category. And we've got Confused Cliffs, also known as Burn Your Rope in the community. This is the longest and most boring auto-scroller in the run. So this is perfect donation time.
Absolutely.
Long and boring auto-scrollers? I love those. They're great. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We got $100 from Petey, who says, I recently played through the DKC trilogy for the first time. Controversially, DKC 3 was my favorite. Excellent run. K. Rool doesn't stand a chance. $25 from Energy Diluted. Shoutouts to Anankoz, Void, Silent Wolf, and the entire DK speedrunning community. One of the best on the internet. Add this to the SM64 incentive. That was DKCSpeedruns.com, right? DKCSpeedruns.com?
DKCSpeedruns.com.
Yes, okay, write that down, chat.
DKCSpeedruns.com.
DKCSpeedruns.com. We've got $50 from DB One Hitter. rolling in. Shout out to my man Void on the couch and Anankoz absolutely killing this DKC3 run. $25 from Best Coach Korea. Glad I set my alarm in time to catch the DKC3 run and the rest of the amazing runs today. Good luck to these runners, and let's hit those last few incentives. Stay hydrated and cute, everyone. Let's finish strong this SGDQ. $55.50 from Giganteus. What a wonderful event and community for such a wonderful cause. Donation goes to more blindfolded stuff from the awesome Bubzia. Best of luck to all runners, and thanks to Anankoz for pushing me down on memory lane with that amazing game and soundtrack. Greetings from Germany. And if we're looking at that Mario 64 LBJ showcase, we're still 12,000 almost out of $40,000 needed. Get those donations in if you want to see more hot blindfolded speed running action. Got time for more donations?
You can squeeze in one more.
All right. We got $25 from Matthias. This event has been so great. Here's one more donation for the cause. Thank you so much, Matthias.
All right, and now we're in Floodlit Fish. The gimmick of this level would be to hit those huge yellow fish, light up the stage, and make it easier to navigate. But thankfully, the screen is not dark to the point where you can't see anything of what you're doing. So we're just not gonna do any of what the game intends us to do, and we're just gonna use Engard to make our way down this level. Also, Engard is really overpowered in this game, and he's pretty much like invincible when lunging, barring when the lurchins are completely closed. So Anankoz is gonna make sure to, like, in some spots, delay his movement just a little bit to not take damage.
Yeah, despite being so invulnerable during the lunge, it's actually really tough to optimize this stage.
Yeah. That was really good, though.
Yeah, that was clean.
So
All right,
swap right
Anankoz
there
is
at
gonna
the
do a
end.
little wall bounce here to mitigate the height so he can jump over this coin a little bit sooner. Coming up on Pothole Panic. So typically in any percent, we would actually skip squawks here, which saves just a little bit of time. But, you know, if we're not going to skip Ellie, why would we skip squawks? So we're taking squawks along for the ride.
Our buddy Squawks. So, yeah, this level is essentially an Animal Antics. If you're familiar with the DKC2 level, you play with a bunch of animal buddies in this level, some of which aren't necessary, like Ellie right there. She's only useful for getting into the bonus, so we don't need to do that in this category, nor in any percent. Instead, we're going to do this water bounce.
Oh, nicely done.
Yep. And we're going to skip Squitter as well. That was a good level. Nice.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Alright, and now Ropey Rumpus. In any percent, you would do a trick right here called the 2-1 jump. Saves about 10 seconds. Saves a little more in this category, but it is a major skip. So instead we're going to be doing this level the intended way. Take a D-boost right here, make use of, once again, Dixie's horizontal rope climbing. Unfortunate death, but the skip right here is quite tight.
Yeah, that looked extremely tight. I actually hadn't seen that strat before.
Yeah, it's actually something I came up with.
Yeah, I want to say the D-boost people were doing prior was a bit later, but I can see why you'd want to take one earlier there to take advantage of Dixie.
Yeah, saves like a little bit of time. Okay, there you go.
Ooh, that looks like a tight squeeze. Yeah, not an easy first section by any means, but it sure beats having to do a double frame perfect trick in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that deboost though, that was not intentional. Let's see how Anankoz navigates this section. All right, we're in the clear now.
Yeah, playing as Kitty on the horizontal ropes here with these bees is nothing short of terrifying, but thankfully we got Dixie back in front and we're back on track.
Yep. All right, we're out. So this boss fight, Barbos, this first phase has some RNG to it. The idea is to recoil those Lurchins into the Lurchins Barbos has on his side. If the spawns happen in the middle of this area, it actually takes longer before you can hit them. So really cool strat right there for phase 2. Nicely done. And squeeze in between once again those Lurchins and just bait those missiles into them.
Yeah, it's really tough to pull off because you're just right in between the Lurchins and the hitbox of Barbos's forehead there.
Yeah, that was good fights.
All right, so we're coming up on the final world, World 7, and it's not any different from any percent, but despite that, it is definitely the hardest world in the run.
Oh yeah, by far. The fact that it's still the same as in any percent doesn't make it any less easier. And Anankoz is gonna go for some really advanced strats, in fact. Little known fact, because we didn't mention that earlier, but Anankoz is like easily a top 3 runner in this game. A lot of the great runners of this game are from Japan. Anankoz is the only one in Japan, out of Japan, I would say, that he's essentially like the best runner that is not from Japan of this game.
Yeah, so in typical DKC fashion, the last world in the run is going to showcase a different gimmick in each one of the stages. This one being conveyor ropes. So depending on which way the conveyors are going, they'll either shoot you forward or prevent you from going forward, and you'll want to jump off of them. And Anankoz is actually showcasing the more difficult route for World 7 as well. This is the leftover route.
Yeah, shots leftover.
And what's different here is that deboost at the end of 7-1, and we're actually going to be playing this stage as Kitty Kong instead of Dixie Kong.
Yeah, you do have both Kongs for this level, and once again, having both Kongs when entering barrels is a little slower, but it's worth it for this level. Also worth mentioning, those ghost barrels, they're RNG. They're actually seed-based. Wow, this is actually the worst RNG.
Oh my
right
god,
now.
yeah, that was, I've never seen it be that bad. Oh my god.
Yeah, when it's bad, it's usually 4 spawns, but this one was the full 5 spawns, so you hate to see it. Yeah, this RNG is awful. Marathon luck, by the way.
This might be the worst RNG I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not a whole lot you can do about that, but good on Anankoz for not, getting too antsy and jumping into those barrels. So this is one of the reasons this route actually saves a good chunk of time. We can skip that last RNG barrel, and that sets us up for playing as Dixie in the next stage, which actually saves a few seconds if done optimally. But it is more difficult to pull off, particularly the ending that Anankoz is probably going to be going for here.
And that deboost skips the final RNG of that level, so...
Yeah, which can be huge.
If you get the worst RNG, then it saves a good chunk of time. But yeah, Lightning Lookout, most infamous level in this entire game, really. The lightning sucks. It's really scary. It's really annoying to dodge. There's some luck involved with when it's gonna strike, where it's gonna strike.
Yeah, but despite that, the stage is largely choreographed. The lightning will misbehave every once in a while, and it looks like it is kind of off pattern right now, but for the most part, as long as your movement is precise, you can tend to control where the lightning is going to strike with your movement. Depending on your speed and which cycle the lightning's on, it's going to determine the position there.
Whew, nicely done.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah, if the lightning screws you over or you stumble in your movement, that stage instantly becomes 1,000 times more terrifying.
Yeah. This is another pretty terrifying level, Coin Dozer Clamor. So, those Coin Dozers, they don't have the best of hitboxes. Once again, this game not really known for its good hitboxes. So you really want to land on them in the proper way to make sure that they don't knock you over.
Yeah, another thing to watch out for is you'll see Anankoz rolling off of these coins. If you land on one of them and try and roll instantly, it'll put you in your hover state and they'll just kind of push you off the edge. So you need to be really careful to wait a bit before initiating any rolls off of them.
Alright, that's good.
Yeah, very nice.
And on to our final level of this run, Poisonous Pipeline, where the water is actually going to reverse your left and right controls. So right now, Anankoz is actually holding left.
Yeah, and despite how difficult this stage was casually, it's not too bad in the speedrun, as long as you're on track. If you take damage or make a mistake, it can be pretty easy to get caught up in your controls and get a little lost, especially this late in the run when you're on pace.
Yeah, for sure. Scary squeeze right there to get to the end guard barrel, so explains why Anankoz grabbed the early DK barrel.
Yeah, and one thing you really want to watch out for is not taking damage as Dixie, because one thing that makes this stage so much harder is having to play it as Kitty.
Yeah, especially that second half.
Yeah,
that was nicely done, though.
Yeah, very nice. He's just such an easy target for those lurchins.
Now we're on to K. Rool. So, a little bit of tech for this first hit. So, when the head is going to be inside the body, Anankoz is going to team throw over Chaos, and it's going to trick him into spawning the barrel on the side where you're at. Usually, the barrel would spawn on the other side, and you would have to go through a cycle where you essentially have to wait and dodge his attacks. This saves a good amount of time. Nice infinite running animation from Kitty.
He's like, let me at him.
Yeah.
Hold me back. Something to note about this fight is you really don't want to take damage with Dixie Kong. The whole fight is choreographed with Dixie Kong specifically, and a lot of this is because of not only her horizontal maneuverability, but also her barrel throw hitbox as well.
I was about to say, it looks like Anankoz good RNG on this cycle, but he messed up a little bit, unfortunately. When K. gets recoiled on that phase, how high or low he stabilizes is completely random, and he got probably the best RNG right there. Alright, so this trick coming up, Task K. saves about 6 seconds. Anankoz is gonna align and jump at a really specific time to grab that handle and spawn the barrel early and get a hit on K. right there. Nicely done.
Yeah, if he were to jump any later than that, he would take in damage, and any earlier, and the barrel would actually spawn and land right in the lightning. So it's a really scary trick to go for at the end of the run, but pulls it off very nicely.
Yep. Get ready on time, by the way. Only 3 more hits left. And time.
Nice run.
Nice run.
Let's see, what was that final time?
I'm waiting on the GDQ stream to catch up on my end.
Nice.
Yeah. Looks like 58-23.
Definitely a solid run.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, if you're interested in running any of the DKC games, go check out dkcspeedruns.com. The link to the community Discord will be there. We like to have fun. We're also really helpful, and we're always very welcoming to new runners. We could always use more DKC runners, really. And yeah, thanks to GDQ for having us. Thanks Otto for co-commentating. Shouts to Anankoz for the sick run, and keep on rolling deep, gamers.
Yeah, echoing what Void said.
All right, that was a fantastic run just now. If you missed it, you gotta go back and see it. It was, gosh, how do I describe it? Just a barrel of fun. Is that anything? I'll confer with my writing team. I've got some donations for you in the meantime. We've got $50 from Muddled Moogle, who says, I'm a simple girl Illa. I see DKC, and I donate bananas. Thank you, Muddled Moogle. Oh, and some people in chat were listening when I asked earlier for the best Super Nintendo soundtrack. $30 from Briarheart. DKC3 has a banger soundtrack, but best soundtrack on the SNES? I can't decide between DKC2, Super Mario RPG, or Chrono Trigger. So here's $10 for each of those. Thank you, Briarheart. And $10 from Cartridge Blowers. Hey, that's me. Hey, all, Cardi B here, donating to say Chrono Trigger has the best soundtrack on the SNES, Mechanos is level 3, and chat, you're cute. You are cute, chat. And I am about to let you take a peek at a really, really cool interview with JHobz talking to our friends over at Doctors Without Borders.
Welcome back to Summer Games Done Quick 2021 online. My name is JHobz, and I am joined by Dr. Africa Stewart from Doctors Without Borders. Africa, it's so nice to see you again. I got to see you several years ago in person.
The before times, right?
Yes, the before times, the ancient ages, right? Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining me. And I wanted to give you the chance to introduce yourself for anybody who might not have caught our interview, since it has been a couple years at this point before. But what do you do with MSF?
I am president and I chair the board of directors for Doctors Without Borders, or Médecins Sans Frontières, which our name in French. When I first met you, I had been on the board maybe a year or so, and since then, opportunities to lead and speak for patients come up. So I got myself a Navy blazer and became president. But for the most part, I'm still mostly me. I'm an OBGYN, I'm a mom and a wife, and a dog mom who is created right now as not to interrupt us. She loves Zoom. And yeah, I'm making it work in a pandemic like everybody else.
Yeah, and I thank you again for sharing your time with us. I know you've got a very busy schedule and everything. So why don't you take us a little bit through some of the roles of as your responsibility of president on the board, and maybe even what, I don't know if you have an average day. I feel like sometimes a lot of people they don't have an average day, but
Not
what
anymore.
Yeah,
No,
of course.
no,
but what does a
anymore.
day in the life of Africa Stewart look like?
Well, when things go well, I'm up early because we are without borders. So I have colleagues all over the world. So most days I will touch at least 3 continents. Wow. So I get up early. Yeah, I start early and just with my inbox. And it's also when the house is quiet because I have kids. And then I'll usually work. This is summertime for us. Kids are out and at camp. But during the school year, I get up early, work for a few hours, breakfast, carpool, like everybody, and then come back, rest a little, and then do the other time zones. That work is important. Sort of that flexibility across time zones during the pandemic has been really, really important. We've lost that sit down and talk it out. We've lost the sitting in a room and having those conversations amongst people with different experiences and expertise. So I'm learning how to log in and double Zoom and Teams, Blue Jeans. I'm trying to think of all of the platforms that I work on. So average day is a bunch of Zooms, lunch for the kids, walk the dog, and then a bunch of Zooms and a nap. And it just goes like that. So I'm just trying to find that space that I used to hold for face-to-face. For let me ask you a question and see how your body language changes. Like that has been lost, but I have gained the opportunity to listen in on meetings that I wouldn't have been able to go to. So in that way, I think it is a nice balance of being there and flying here and there and having a voice in conversations where I might not have otherwise. So a blessing and the curse, maybe? Yeah.
I think we've been feeling the same thing with the marathon. There's things we can do that we couldn't do before.
Yeah.
What are some of the, I mean, I know not everything is going to be able to be talked about, obviously, but what are some of the things that you're talking about in these meetings with people all over the world? Is it about, seeing where projects or missions need to be deployed, or is there just too much to even really cover?
No, because we have a mandate that's medical humanitarian. So in that way, I have a focus of reminding myself what I'm supposed to be doing, and then other things come up that augment it or don't matter, and I deal with them in that way. But I would say that this moment for Doctors Without Borders is really about, one, maintaining the care that we had been doing. Measles is still trying to win. So is like all of those things that we used to do didn't go away.
Right.
And I think that is the most important piece of what we do, is trying to maintain COVID protocols for our staff, trying to maintain all of those distancing protocols that are important and necessary, but also giving the quality of care that has to be done. So we have, in any given day, about 70 countries running a project of some sort. And that includes the U.S. We have done domestic operations this year in what can only be described as unprecedented. I'm getting sick of that word, but it's true. I don't know if I ever thought that my role would land on U.S. shores. And the presidents before me were just all like, for real? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to. There was a point about this time last year where we just couldn't be still. We couldn't sit back and let what we know to be wrong continue to happen. And there are still lots and lots of vulnerable pockets in the U.S. that needed our help. So we reached out and we answered the phone when Navajo Nation called, when the Pueblo Nation called. A lot of the nursing and day-to-day care that happens in Puerto Rico right now is almost entirely MSF. Wow. So we just sort of adapted and did things we thought we'd never do before in service. And that's the best part of my job, because I can just do things that don't have a name. And we didn't know what to call it. We just know that it needed to get done. And that's kind of the joy and the might of Doctors Without Borders in my role.
That is such a great way of explaining it, because I've often struggled myself when trying to explain with people about having these interviews, because this is always my favorite part, getting to talk with MSF staffers. And it's always been hard to explain what is so great about it. And I think it's exactly what you just described. The role doesn't really necessarily have a name, or what you're doing doesn't necessarily have a name. It's just what needs to be done. And last time we talked, I got to just get some very impactful, stories and moments from you. So I was wondering if you had anything else, either from recent, memory as things have changed, or just something else that really exemplifies, why Doctors Without Borders mission is important to you, or just ways that people have improved your life during your time there.
Well, I'll start in Puerto Rico, because that has been the last place that I've gone as a doctor, right? During the pandemic, my husband's also a physician, so we had to figure out the schedule and the kids and the father-in-law, dog. And in the fall, the needs in Puerto Rico were obvious. We had started a COVID monitoring system to follow people who weren't sick enough to stay in the hospital, but we're still in danger. We're still in danger of contaminating their families. We're still in danger of getting worse and not knowing what to do. So we had that piece in place. And as we did that, we heard over and over again from community leaders and patients alike that this is great, but what we really need is our primary care. What happened during the pandemic to Puerto Rico is a good snapshot of community-based care. They had Hurricane Maria and had learned how to sort of mobilize themselves, not to wait for anybody. So I came in this moment of community engagement that blew my mind. I thought I was going to be meeting with slick politicians that want to get their picture taken. And it was social workers. It was the community nana, like people who know each other.
That's incredible.
And from there, we were able to build what the community needed, which was access to primary care. In the beginning of the pandemic, when masks and all of that personal protective equipment became really hard to get and really expensive, Puerto Rico is not a state. So they can't negotiate when California is buying. They can't negotiate when New York is buying. They got left out. So the reason that I went was because I wanted to see this part of it with my own eyes. And what I saw was those unintended consequences. Like when you do the right thing by people, sometimes there are unintended costs. So those doctors felt uncomfortable without the equipment. They were contaminating each other. They were making people sick. So they had to take the difficult decision to close their doors because they couldn't do it right. So people showed up for their appointments and the lights were off and there's a lock on the door and a little note that says, we can't. But they can't remember what medications they take. The little white pill in the morning and the gray one in the afternoon, like the nuance of primary care on the island really spoke to me. So what we did was answer community's needs, which was get primary care to people that couldn't otherwise. And in part, that was because of places that closed, but also just the fear. People with longstanding diabetes or hypertension will say, I know diabetes, I know hypertension. I don't know there's COVID, I'm going to stay home. But those kind of decisions have a ripple effect on your medications and your overall health. And in that way, we were able to be what a community needed at the time that they needed. They didn't need us to send surgeons and those cool inflatable tents. What they needed was negotiating power for the equipment. They have doctors that are dedicated to Puerto Rico. They have doctors that understand the community. They have social workers that will tell me to my face, yes, but you have to take her some food. And like, I'm gearing up to go. Yes, but what she needs is food, but she's too proud to say so. So here's the protocol. If you have it in your hand when you get to her door, she won't refuse it because she don't want to be rude. But if you offer, she'll say no. She doesn't want to be a burden. And that little space is
the wiggle room.
But it makes all the difference in a community. So in that way, I'm able to listen to people who are from here, who know that her kids live on the mainland and she doesn't have anybody. They know that she has a bum leg and can't get all the way to the mailbox. So somebody in the middle of the night gets her mail and takes it to the door. Like that to me is exactly what we can and should be doing. at all times. Don't pass out what you have, figure out what the community needs and give them that. So I went to Puerto Rico to see this project with my own eyes. And I was like, okay, this I can sign off on. This is exactly what a community needs. And this is 100% that sweet spot of what Doctors Without Borders can do.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's incredible. And I think it really does go to show, like you're saying, just what good can come out from listening to all people, from listening to communities directly and hearing them. And that's an amazing story. Thank you so much. That's a lesson
for medical students, nursing students, right up until you've been doing this for 50 years. Mm-hmm. Your ears are probably more helpful than your hands. And I'm a dyed-in-the-wool surgeon. My favorite place is the OR, but I'm learning that sometimes my hands aren't helpful. My ears are.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I wish we could talk for 2 hours about
I would.
about all the work you do. Yeah, it would be fantastic. But maybe we'll have to save that for another time when it is safe for us all to be in person again, and we can have you back out. Yes, over the internet somehow. We'll make it work.
All right, we'll make it work. Yes, because the support that we received, the gaming community has just reminded the world that you can still be who you are and still do some good. And that part of it always speaks to me. Be who you are and do some good in this world. Yeah. Turn the thing that you're good at into something that people need. And this is that. So thank you. Thank you for creating the space that we can do this.
No, thank you so much for talking with us. This is the proudest thing I get to do in my life is help out with this awesome event. So
appreciate it. We do.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for talking with me, everybody. This is Dr. Africa Stewart with Médecins Sans Frontières. I'm terrible at the French pronunciation, but I try. I am going to let you all get excited for some more video games. And don't forget, you can go to gamesdonequick.com/donate to help give directly to Doctors Without Borders. Doesn't even go through GDQ. We just go straight there. So please give what you can and keep enjoying the week, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to all of our friends over at Doctors Without Borders. It really is just an amazing honor to help with such a fantastic cause. Speaking of people who are helping, I've got a $100 donation from Ashley Cully, who says, thanks again for another fantastic week of games and the awesome work you're doing for Doctors Without Borders. Looking forward to the Pokemon Emerald run. Eevee has always been my favorite Pokemon, so I'm really hoping I win one of the amazing Eeveelution-themed prizes. Well, if you're wanting to get your donations in for that Pokemon Emerald run, there's a lot of incentives to meet, and it's right after our next run, which you are going to want to... Listen. Are you sitting? Well, sit. Move forward a little bit. Move forward, because you're only going to need the edge of your seat for this run, because this is a race between Insane and Arfend in Super Meat Boy Forever. Take it away.